everyone, Heather here with Astrology with Heather.com, and I am back with another weekly forecast. And this one is for Monday, October 29th, all the way through to Sunday, November 4th of 2018. And yes, we are already getting into Halloween and November. This year has really flown by. It's been kind of crazy. And this is another big week in the astrology. We have a continuation and sort of an exacerbation of the energy that occurred last week with that full moon in Taurus, which was in a conjunction with not only Uranus, which was going retrograde in the sign of Taurus and still is, but also the sun in opposition to the moon, which is what a full moon is. The sun was actually in a conjunction with retrograde Venus. And so that Venus opposition to Uranus comes exact actually on Halloween, on October 31st. If you're here on, actually pretty much anywhere in the United States, it's going to be on October 31st. So if you're in another place in the world, it might be on the 30th. But, you know, for us here in the States and, you know, in Canada and all of that, it's going to be on October 31st. And so this is a really potent, really powerful energy. This is some shake-up energy, you guys. A lot of you have already been feeling really frustrated with certain circumstances, structures, restricted, limiting sort of relationships and patterns and behaviors that have either been imposed on you from the outside or that you've sort of created and built around yourself. And so there's a lot of people right now looking to rearrange, to break free, feeling frustrated, feeling sort of, some people feeling a little bit hopeless, right? Because it feels like they're stuck and they don't know how to break free. But this energy with Uranus and Venus will show us the way, right? When you have a lot of Uranus energy, Uranus is the great awakener. So it awakens us to what's not working in our lives and where we feel really stagnant and bored and sort of bogged down by too much responsibility or too much structure, too much monotony. And it helps us to break free, right? So once we're aware of what needs to change, we can break free from sort of the old paradigm, the old way of behaving, and move into something new. And especially when it comes to relationships right now, that's a big thing. Relationships and finances. We've been having a little financial stuff going on in the ethers, sort of on a more general level, but you know, on an individual level as well, this could cause disruption or frustration or difficulty involving resources, involving finances, the need to renegotiate some sort of contract with your resources or some sort of contract in general, the need to break free from an old way of engaging in relationship, you know, breaking free from old patterns in relationships that are holding you back from finding that balance, from creating true intimacy in your connections and contacts with other people. You know, Venus, when it's in the sign of Scorpio, has, it's very possessive, right? It's very obsessive, but there's also a sensitivity to betrayal. And so, you know, a lot of those past issues involving betrayal, involving old past wounds and traumas, and triggers from the past in relationships that maybe were not so great, those might be coming up to the surface right now, along with those actual relationships, which might show up out of the blue. You know, I've spoken to a lot of people who have had run-ins with exes or people sort of texting or calling out of the blue from the past. It's very, very common during Venus retrograde. Usually when that happens, it's because you have to sort of revisit and address something that maybe wasn't addressed or that was sort of left unfinished. It's especially prevalent with relationships from the past that you don't feel like you've gotten a sense of closure with. And so a lot of those energies will be dredged up, and especially right now, they might be dredged up in very shocking and unexpected ways, like unexpected circumstances that will come up and show you where you've become a little stuck in your patterns and your habits, and maybe where you're letting your fears, anxieties, and past traumas and wounds dictate the way that you engage in relationship with everyone, not just in, you know, romantic partnership. And so that's a lot of what's been going on right now. And this week, that's going to be triggered in a really big way. We're going to be looking at breaking free from old habits, old, you know, too strict and stringent routines when it comes to our relationships, and also the way that we utilize our finances or create wealth for ourselves as well. There could be disruption there. There could be a need to change something. But really what this end goal of this transit, which is going to be coming exact again one more time when Venus goes direct, But the end goal of this transit with Venus opposing Uranus back and forth like this is to liberate ourselves, right? Where do we need more freedom? Where do we need to let go of something? Where do we need to change? Where do we need to show up and be more courageous? Because this is all in fixed energy, right? So these are the areas in our lives where things are normally quite stable, or we're complacent or comfortable, or we're holding on to the way things are, because that's the nature of the fixed signs, right? There's always, this sort of sense of holding on. In Taurus, it's holding on to possessions, material possessions. In Scorpio, it's holding on to things that have psychological and emotional value. And then we're also having this very karmic connection with this opposition going on here, forming a pretty exact grand cross at the moment of this opposition coming exact, with the north and south node in Leo and Aquarius, also fixed energy. Those two points in the chart, which are mathematical points that are calculated to determine the eclipses, but they also have an association with fate, with destiny, with karma, with the direction that we're moving into in this lifetime and our past life experience, and the way that we bring forth those experiences and utilize them in the present. And so when we're looking at the north and south node, we're looking at our destiny, right? And so this is going to be forming this grand fixed cross. And when we're being called to change, right, which is, the nature of Uranus, it brings change, it brings disruption. When there's disruption in an area that's normally fixed, this can feel really uncomfortable for a lot of people. And even though most of the people that I'm speaking with, most of my clients, friends, even family members, they know what they need to change, it can be very, very difficult to actually move forward with it. But this week, it's almost going to force our hand, because, fate stepping in, karma stepping in. And so we're being pulled into a whole new path and into a whole new direction in our lives right now. And the challenge here is to let go and break free, and to risk, that disequilibrium, right? Risk that sort of that disharmony that might come with change, that discomfort, right? Because it's not necessarily going to be comfortable, especially with, such a strong sort of karmic energy at play right now. But that doesn't mean that it's bad, right? It just means that it might feel uncomfortable in the moment, but the end result is pulling you into a direction that you're fated to go into. It's helping you to let go of the past, let go of past karma, past experiences, past wounds, past traumas, in order to become more liberated in all areas of life, really, but especially in the areas that are going to be affected more predominantly in your own chart. And so, so that being said, I am going to go into the forecast for all 12 signs, so that way you guys can get a little feel for what's going on this week, because it is going to be a really powerful week. I think people are already starting to feel that, and it's only going to get more and more potent, I would say, up until Wednesday is going to be sort of that peak of the energy, but you're still going to be feeling it really for the next couple of weeks. So. And also, I should mention before I get into the forecast for all the 12 signs, the same day that that Venus is actually going to be opposing Uranus, it's going to be transitioning out of Scorpio, and it's going to be moving backwards into Libra. When Venus is at the 0 degree of Scorpio, the 0 degree of Scorpio is the most potent, focused scorpionic energy that you can have. So anytime you have a planet sitting at 0 or 1 degree in the sign of Scorpio, or in the sign of any sign, really, that's going to be the most focused and potentized energy associated with that sign. And so this is a lot coming up, a lot of really intense focused energy on relationships, on power struggles in relationships, on possessiveness, obsession, jealousy. These types of issues are bubbling up to the surface like crazy right now. And so that's only going to become more potent over the next couple of days. And then we're going to have Venus retrograding back into Libra, which I talked about this in my Venus retrograde forecast video a couple of weeks ago. So go back and, go to my playlist and all of that. Subscribe to my channel also. If you don't know where my playlist is, it'll be on my channel. And you can see what that's going to bring, that shift from Scorpio to Libra for you in your life, because I did talk about that pretty in depth. So I'm not going to go super deep into that this week. But yeah, so in terms of the astrology, it's going to be a big week. It's already been, a big week, but this next week I think is going to be a little bit more intensive. And also at that same time, I should mention, when we're having that sort of grand cross, if you want to call it a grand cross, right? I would call it a grand cross, even though it's the north and south node and not planets, because this is really strong and really potent. But at the very least, it's a T-square, because the moon, at the exact moment that we have this opposition between Venus and Uranus coming, to exactness, coming to that 0 degree, and we're having the north and south node, in that square, right, with Uranus and Venus, we're also going to have the moon in the sign of Leo in a conjunction with the North Node. So that's going to highlight this even further and make it even more potent. And so this is a really intense energy. And yeah, so I think it's going to be a big week, a lot of rearranging, a lot of shaking up, a lot of disruption. And you know, the disruption that's going on in all of our lives is ultimately positive, and it's ultimately going to throw us in the path that we're meant to move into in this lifetime. But again, it might not feel good in the moment. So just kind of be aware of that if you're feeling this extra intensely, especially for certain people who have different like alignments in their chart in the fixed signs, especially at 0 and 1 degrees of the fixed signs. If you have your sun, moon, rising, or personal planets in Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, or Aquarius, you're going to be feeling this much more strongly than other people. And it might be affecting you in a way that seems a little bit more detrimental, whereas other people might do better with this energy. People who do really well with like eclipses and north and south node energy, like people who are born near the eclipses, people who have really, you know, nice Uranus energy in their chart, or really strong Uranus energy in their chart, I would say, rather than nice. I would say that, you know, people who have that type of energy in their chart that are really used to change, they're more comfortable with the discomfort and the disruption and sort of being in flux. Those are the people that are going to do really well with this energy, because it requires surrender. It requires trust, right? It requires trust that, you know, you're moving in the right direction and that fate is guiding you, and that there's a reason for all of this happening, and that the changes that you're making are going to liberate you. And yeah, you have to sort of let go of a certain aspect of control and complacency and comfort in order to make that happen. All right. And so before we get into the forecast for all 12 signs, I just want to make a couple quick announcements. I know you guys love that I make announcements in the middle of the video. Probably not. But for those who are interested, I am doing a foundational astrology course. I have 2 spots left. I'm only allowing 10 people in because I want this to be a very small, very intimate course. And I'm being selective of who, you know, enters the course as well, because I want everybody who attends to be really, you know, committed to learning astrology, because we're going to, you know, really get to know each other. We're going to really work together as a group. And one of the things that I really wanted to bring to this foundational astrology course, which is excellent for, you know, beginners, or even if you have just a little bit of knowledge already of astrology, is that I really wanted to help everybody integrate all of the different pieces, because that's something I had a lot of trouble with when I was first learning. I had all of this knowledge about all these different parts and points and planets and configurations, but when I looked at a chart, I had a hard time taking it all and like synergizing it and putting it together. And so I know a lot of people have that same experience when they're students of astrology. And so there's going to be a lot of one-on-one, you know, work with people. We're going to be doing a lot of examples. I really want to make sure that everybody can put it all together and read a birth chart by the end of this course. And you're even going to be getting a one-on-one, you know, 30-minute session with me, where you're going to be going over a chart and getting feedback from me on an individual basis. So it'll be very interactive. Anyway, so the link to sign up for that course, if you would like to, is in the description below. If you have questions about it, please feel free to reach out to me. My email is in the description below as well. And then I did my course with Robert Phoenix, my webinar about the AstroNavigation for 2019. And we got really in depth into the North and South node switching signs, which is happening actually, I think, next week already. And Jupiter moving into Sagittarius, which is another big major change and shift that's happening next week. And so if you want to get an in-depth look, like on all levels, we went from like the macro all the way down to the micro, and even very specific individual transits in the chart. If you want to get that information and be prepared, you can always you know, purchase the recording from that webinar, which is again in the link in the description below, and you can book a reading with me on the website as well. So that's enough announcements for today. So let's get into the forecast now for all 12 signs. And we're going to start with Aries and Aries rising. So for Aries and for Aries rising, so you might already be feeling a little bit of this energy, right? Because we already started with this energy with the full moon, which occurred last week. But with the Venus opposition to Uranus in your second house of finances, this is probably going to be a lot about money, resources, power struggles involving resources, the need to change some sort of dynamic or some sort of contract involving your money, your finances, your resources. Sorry about the lighting, guys. The window, there's like the sun. It'll go back to normal in a minute. But yeah, so there's some sort of disruption or change or frustration with your current state of being when it comes to your finances, and potentially when it comes to joint finances, through partnership, through marriage, through inheritance, through taxes, through debts, through other people's money in one way or another, through investments, right? You might have some investments that are maybe a little shaky or a little rocky right now, or maybe you're feeling uncomfortable with the investments that you made and you're thinking about, selling things off or changing something. This is the time to make adjustments. So, if you need to let go of a certain sort of stringent, strict way of dealing with your finances, now would be a time to start thinking about doing that. There might be sort of unexpected changes to your finances this week, or to your financial situation, or to the dynamic of power involving your resources. This could also just be maybe arguments or disputes or some sort of disruption, again, involving your money, your finances, but it could be a really good time for you if you are in debt, to sort of think about like refinancing something, think about renegotiating the terms or the agreements of that debt, because it'd be more fruitful at this time. And if you're frustrated with the way that you're going about making money and it feels too restricted, limiting, oppressive in some sort of way, or maybe you're just not making enough money, now's the time to think about new, innovative ways to create and generate resources for yourself, maybe doing so a little bit more independently. There could be challenges here. There could be like a faded new direction that you're going in that involves your passions, your hobbies, your interests, the things that you love to do, because this is the North Node in Leo, and this is the very final push of that energy. And so the challenge to that might be that you need to let go of a certain way that you think it needs to be when it comes to your money, right? Your resources. Maybe you need to think about budgeting or living with less, or maybe you need to let go of a little bit of your savings because you have Taurus on the second house cusp. Something along those lines. But yeah, there's some sort of faded energy here involving your passions, your creativity, your children, even, your romantic life. Maybe you have like some sort of romantic partnership or love affair going on right now, and it's taking a very faded and very karmic turn. And I need to let go of caring so much, again, about what other people think about what it is that you're doing, especially your friends, and letting go of certain friendships that are preventing you from moving forward with the plans that you want to make. All right. And for Taurus and for Taurus rising, this is right on in your sign, right? This is happening in Scorpio and in Taurus especially, and it's making this really sort of intense fixed cross with the North and South Node, bringing in that karmic energy involving your home, your family, your property, your place of living, and also your work and your public reputation and what it is that you're contributing out in the world. And so the focus right now is going to be on relationships, partnerships. There's going to be potentially some disruptive energy coming in. Right now, you're going through a process, especially if you have your sun, moon, or rising at the 0, 1st, 2nd degree in the sign of Taurus. You're going through a process of changing your identity out in the world. There's a disruption going on. You're feeling more rebellious. You're wanting to break free from old sort of restricting conditioned patterns of behaving or being, or letting go of trying to show up in a way that you feel is acceptable, so that way other people will love you and accept you and all of that, and caring a little bit less about that and focusing more on, who you are and how you can express that, how you can be more of an individual out in the world, right? Express yourself more authentically, more individualistically, I guess. I don't think that's a word, but in a way that's more unique to you, right? And this could be you acting out and being a little bit more rebellious. This could also bring a lot of unexpected, shocking changes, twists, and turns when it comes to your relationships. It's going to help you to liberate yourself from relationships that are too possessive and oppressive, that are maybe a little shady. Maybe there's some funny business going on behind the scenes. This could help to sort of shake you out of, this could help you to sort of revisit old relationship patterns, especially through maybe an old relationship or an old flame coming back into your life, calling you, texting you, showing up at your doorstep, meeting them out, while you're out on the town or something like that. And so it might cause you to revisit the pain and especially the emotional and psychological remnants of that relationship, so that way you can let go, and so that way you can move forward with something better. This could also just be you making changes to your current relationship. So if you are in partnership, this is a time when, you could be doing some adjusting, making adjustments to the structure of that relationship, wanting things to be a little bit more exciting, a little bit more unpredictable, right? Because maybe things have gotten too predictable with all that Scorpio energy. And, you know, maybe you need to let loose a little bit. Maybe you guys need to go out and like plan a vacation together, do something different. It could also be that there's a challenge here between like your work life and your home life that is involving your relationships as well. And this could also be financial deals and contracts and things like that that might be a little disruptive. You might have some really strange communication coming in throughout the week. But there's a need to focus on your roots. And that could be challenging for you right now in terms of focusing on, you know, laying down roots and moving in a new direction when it comes to your home and family, or finalizing that direction that you've been taking for so long, because there's this disruption going on in your relationships and you're changing everything about your life and wanting to be more rebellious, right? And there's a need to sort of let go of some aspect of the way that you were working out in the world in your career. But yeah, in general, this is going to be a lot of disruptive energy around relationships, unexpected, shocking surprises. Really good things can come too unexpectedly in relationships. You know, like maybe maybe even a new, well, if it's a new relationship in a retrograde, I would be like suspicious of that. You know, hold off on setting a wedding date or something like that if you know, think you found the one, because when Venus goes direct, that can change, right? But it could bring new relationships into your life. But yeah, in general, this is going to bring some unexpected surprises through your relationships, romantic or otherwise. For Gemini and for Gemini rising, this energy is happening in your 12th and in your 6th house. Uranus in your 12th house is shaking things up on a subconscious level. You might find yourself getting really powerful downloads, inspiration through your dreams, through visions, through your daydreams even, through, you know, fantasies, through creativity. Your creative self-expression might be a little bit more enhanced and sort of all over the place right now. And also, you know, it brings a need, it brings up suppressed rebellion. So if there's anything that you've been sort of suppressing and holding in terms of needing to change something or rebel against the current sort of state of balance, or the state of your, I would say, your work life and also your health, because this is going to be in your 6th house, right? And so this could be a really disruptive energy to your daily routines, to your day-to-day communications with coworkers or people that you connect with through your work. You know, this could really throw off your balance when it comes to your day-to-day work experience or your health, right? There could be some sort of shake up there. Maybe it's a hormonal thing, right? Because it's Venus. But whatever is coming up for you this week, it's showing you what you need to change, right? It's showing you where you can no longer continue on with the status quo. So you need to change and do something different to bring yourself back into balance and into harmony when it comes to your work, and when it comes to your health, when it comes to your nutrition, when it comes to your day-to-day sort of dealings and routines. And maybe you need to sort of shake it up a little bit. Maybe you become too fixed on doing things a certain way, or, you know, spending more time in solitude on your day-to-day basis. And maybe you need to reach out and connect with other people. Maybe connecting or reconnecting with people from your past can help you to find solutions to the problems that are going on right now in the present. And then, you know, you had that sort of fated karmic energy right now going on between Leo and Aquarius. And so the North Node is finishing out. This is the last week in Leo, you guys. And so this is in your 3rd house of communication. And so whatever fated karmic new direction you've been going into when it comes to your relationships with your siblings, extended family members, your neighbors, your neighborhood, your community, your day-to-day communication, your ideas, learning new skill sets, all of these things have to do with the North Node being in Leo. And you might have been moving in a sort of a fated new direction when it comes to your beliefs, your self-talk, your day-to-day communications, all those things that I just mentioned. And so, you know, your day-to-day work experience, your day-to-day life, and sort of what's going on a subconscious level, and that suppressed need for rebellion can be a little bit disruptive and challenging. And so, you know, you might find yourself feeling a little challenged to stick to your guns and stick to your path right now. All right. For Cancer and for Cancer rising, the opposition between Venus and Uranus is actually happening in your 11th and 5th house. And so this can bring disruptions in terms of friendships, social networks, groups of people, the people that you surround yourself with. This would not be a really great time to be like arguing with people on the internet or something like that on social media. You could have really unexpected sort of shocking revelations that come through social media, or connections with people from your past, especially past love affairs and past romances that come through like Facebook or Instagram or something like that. where it just shows up in a way that's unexpected or somebody contacts you out of the blue. This could also be a disruptive energy to your romantic life. So if you are in sort of a like more like, these are more like flings, right? In the fifth house, it's more like boyfriend, girlfriend relationships. It's more like fun love affairs and things like that, as opposed to committed long-term relationships. But even if you are in a committed long-term relationship, this could bring disruption. It could bring a need to shake things up and to, bring back some passion into your relationship, bring back some excitement, to do something in a new way, to change something about the dynamic of your romantic life. This could also bring in a romance from the past that comes in and shakes things up, and maybe your friends don't approve and there's a disruption there. It could also bring a new romance, but I would again be very cautious about that, just because Venus is in retrograde, Uranus is in retrograde. Usually it's bringing up stuff from the past. So this new romance, if it does come in, is probably going to be bringing up a lot of your past wounds, issues, vulnerabilities, insecurities, and traumas in the sign of Scorpio in your fifth house of like passion and romance, right? So, that could be part of that energy as well. So just kind of be aware and just know that when Venus goes direct, this person might not be what you think that they are. And, but you'll see why everything happened a little bit later on. And it doesn't mean as soon as Venus goes direct that the relationship ends or anything like that. That's usually not the case, although sometimes it is. Usually it takes a while to figure out these Venus retrograde relationships. So, just again, be aware of that. So anyway, Venus retrograde in the fifth house, this could also bring up power struggles and, a shakeup when it comes to the energy of you with your children, right? If you do have children, this could also be you rethinking things when it comes to your business. If you're an entrepreneur, this could bring in sort of new, exciting, unexpected passions, hobbies, interests, ways to sort of express yourself creatively out in the world. The disruption here or the challenge is involving your finances. Maybe it is that you want to change something, you want to spend more time coming back into balance and focusing more on your passions, your hobbies, your interests, the things that you love to do, or in your romantic life, your friends, doing things exciting out in the world with the people that you care about. But, you're in this sort of stage right now where your path is changing when it comes to the pursuit of finances for you. And so you're moving into a new direction there. And so there's a need to change something in order to fully embrace the new path that you're on when it comes to the way that you create your resources, and to let go of old past stagnant energy around debt, power struggles, other people's money, joint finances, that type of thing. And so that's what's going on for Cancer. For Leo and for Leo rising, this is going to be, I think, a challenging week for all of the fixed signs, really. It doesn't mean that it's a bad week, right? It just means that there's challenges and that there's stuff that you're going to have to sort of deal with and work through, and you might already be feeling a little bit of that. For people who have, especially Leo rising at 0 or 1 degrees, maybe even 2 degrees in the sign of Leo, because you're going to be having that north and south node in a conjunction with your ascendant and descendant, but you're also having the Venus opposition to Uranus and square with your ascendant and descendant. And so this is going to pose a lot of challenge to your relationships. This is you having to focus on your needs, your self-interest, to do so more courageously, right? And care less about what other people think about what you're doing, to focus less of your energy and intention on your relationships, which has been a process that you've been going through for the past 18 months of your life. And so this is sort of the final pull to really embrace your new path that you're moving into. There's a need to change something and to make adjustments when it comes to your career and your public reputation and what it is that you're doing out in the world. There could also be difficulties in surprising, sort of shocking revelations at your roots, right? Your base, when it comes to your family dynamic, your family relationships, contracts involving your home or your property. This could also be something along the lines of a disruption in your work or your workflow, challenging something involving your home, your family, your property. Maybe, the finances are shifting in some sort of way, or you thought you were going to get a bonus and you didn't, or maybe you do get a bonus that's unexpected and you could funnel that into, beautifying your home or doing something that's really supportive and loving for your family, right? But there could be unexpected circumstances that come through the family and that come through your work and your career and the way that you engage with the public this week. And especially there could be a disruption and a little bit of a shaky energy when it comes to your relationships. So just kind of be aware of what's going on, and just know that there is going to be a need to let go of control and to change something, especially in the area of your work and your home life, in order to create a better home life balance. I would say that would be the ultimate goal there, to liberate yourself so you have more freedom to do what you want to do when you want to do it, to spend more time with your family if that's what you want, and to work more independently out in the world. All right, so for Virgo. So for Virgo and Virgo rising, this energy of the opposition between Venus and Uranus is happening in your 3rd and 9th house. And so this is going to be a disruption when it comes to your beliefs about God, the universe, the world around you, your day-to-day sort of mindset and self-talk, and your day-to-day communications. This would be a time when you could have unexpected sort of messages or communications, or somebody coming back around out of the woodwork from the past. And it's going to disrupt your mindset or your belief system in some sort of way. It'll shock you out of complacency in that respect. It's going to help you to let go of rigid, dogmatic sorts of beliefs, especially on a philosophical, moral, and ethical level. But even on a day-to-day basis, this could be a little bit challenging or disruptive to your day-to-day communication, your day-to-day interactions with people. This could bring some sort of change in the balance and equilibrium when it comes to your community, your neighborhood, your interactions with the people in that sort of context. This could also bring a need to change something and to liberate yourself in the area of like your siblings, your extended family members, all of that. And so, there could be issues with siblings that come up, not necessarily bad. You could have some sort of like shocking, happy surprise, especially with the 9th house energy being involved. Maybe somebody shows up at your doorstep that you haven't seen in a while, like a cousin or, your sister or something. Or maybe, there's a circumstance that forces you to unexpectedly travel and go visit, your extended family or something along those lines as well. But in general, this is going to be more about communication and your mindset. You need to change your mindset, especially the big picture, in order to come back into balance on a day-to-day basis, and to think the right thoughts, and to say the right things, and to speak in a way that's going to be a little bit more harmonious, a little bit more balanced, fair, and not so Scorpio and abrasive, right? Because this is Scorpio in the 3rd house. Virgo rising people, they do tend to have kind of a sharp tongue because they have Scorpio as the ruler of the 3rd house. And so this is helping you maybe to soften that and to see the other person's perspective before you say something. And this could be you just blurting out and saying stuff too. So just be aware of that, right? And you could be on the receiving end of that too. So sort of shocking communication. You've been pulled toward focusing your attention more inward on your inner world, your inner reality, and a little bit less on the day-to-day grind, your day-to-day work life, your day-to-day sort of health routines, and spending more time in solitude, seclusion, focusing on your spiritual development, focusing on the subconscious internal work. And the disruption to your belief systems and all of that, it's kind of helping you to move into that new path, that new direction that you need to move into when it comes to your spiritual beliefs, when it comes to that inward focus and that internal sort of sense of well-being that you've been cultivating over these past 12 months. And so, this is a change to your beliefs that could assist you in that new path. For Libra and for Libra rising, this energy is happening in your 2nd and your 8th house. And so this is going to be potentially a disruption involving your finances. Power struggles with finances could come up right now. Old sorts of relationships that's where the power dynamic was difficult involving, especially finances, could come up right now. So if you have like power struggles with, with joint finances in marriage, or joint finances in some sort of partnership or agreement or contract from the past, that might come back up for you right now, and you might have to deal with that again and look at that and release it fully moving forward into the future. Venus retrograding in your 2nd house indicates that there's something that you have to review and sort of go back on and look at when it comes to your finances in general, and the way that you create resources for yourself, and the way that you use your resources and spend your money. But there could be some disruption to your financial equilibrium this week, either because some money comes in unexpectedly from the outside through an investment or through inheritance or through some sort of outside source. Maybe your partner unexpectedly gets a bonus, right? Or something along those lines. Or it could be disruption in the opposite direction where there's some sort of challenge, right? And it causes you to have to look at the way that you're utilizing your resources and sort of the way that you utilize power around your resources, right? And the way that you associate resources with power. Money is power for a Libra rising. You got Scorpio in the second house, right? Scorpio is all about power. But anyway, so there could be a little bit of disruption, disputes, change. I need to change something when it comes to your resources in order to liberate yourself to have more freedom in that area. That would be part of it as well. So anything that feels burdensome or stuck or stagnant when it comes to your finances, maybe it's just that you don't have enough and you need to do something and change something so that way you can enjoy more of the sensory pleasures. You can, indulge in the things that you love to do a little bit more, but maybe you have to do a little work first or change something or become more independent in the way that you create resources. This could pose a challenge involving your friends, your social networks. It could be that your friends maybe don't agree with the way that you're investing your money or what it is that you're doing in terms of your job, or it could be that, your financial situation and the changes that are going on there, because you might be a little in flux, might it might prevent you from moving forward in the right direction, right? And so with the North Node transiting through the sign of Leo, a lot of what you've been cultivating is this new path when it comes to your friends, your social networks, the people that you surround yourself with. You've probably made a lot of really awesome new connections when it comes to friends and groups of people over the course of the past 18 months where, it feels fated, it feels karmic, it feels like you're meant to meet up with these people and to sort of connect with them and network with them. But the South Node in the fifth house could pose challenges from maybe old sorts of relationships, old romance, old love affairs, old flames coming back out of the woodwork, or and there's a need to let go, right? There's a need to let go of your past sort of circumstances in romance. There's a need to let go of maybe something involving your hobbies, your interests, the things that you love to do, or your connection with children, or your children even. Maybe, it could be that there's something going on with maybe your children are leaving the nest, or they're growing up, or they're, they don't need you as much, and so you need to let go of your role in that respect. But yeah, so there's a little bit of challenge going on there. There could be a challenge involving your friends, maybe old flames, old romances, money and resources, power struggles in that respect. And so that's what's going on for Libra and Libra rising. For Scorpio and for Scorpio rising, Venus is right on in your sign in opposition to Taurus. And so this is going to be affecting you a lot when it comes to your relationships. I would say especially work-related relationships. That would be something where there'd be some unexpected challenges, twists, turns, sort of shaking things up a little bit. It could be that you have unexpected relationships from the past coming back around and you're getting to know these people in a new way. It could be that you're reinventing your relationships, or, in general, it doesn't even mean that, it doesn't have to be that they're people from the past even. It could be that your relationships right now are being shaken up a little bit, or that you're learning surprising things about people, or the dynamic of your relationships are changing right now. That's a big one for Scorpio rising. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's good or it's bad. It's just what it is, right? So you could have a lot of changes in the dynamic of your relationships, especially romantic relationships, but really all close personal one-on-one relationships. This could also be unexpected circumstances involving clients if you work one-on-one with people, involving business partnerships, because this is going to be in that square with the North and South Node in the 10th and the 4th house. There could be a need to make adjustments and change something in your relationships, or to let go of old relationships and old karma and baggage from past relationships that maybe has gone unresolved. This could be also you shaking things up a little bit in terms of if your things have become too stagnant and too stuck and too monotonous in your relationships, where you feel like things need to happen in a certain way, and now you're realizing that you kind of got yourself stuck in a little bit of a rut, and so you can break free from that energy a lot more easily this week, and it might feel like you can't deal with it anymore, right? You need to change something. With Venus retrograding in the sign of Scorpio, this is also involving making adjustments to the way that you deal with relationships in order to enjoy more pleasure in life. First off, that's Venus, but also to enhance your self-worth, right? So letting go of old stagnant beliefs in relationships that are preventing you from feeling good about yourself, and from, moving forward on your own self-interest, and, focusing on your needs, your desires, your need for passion and pleasure in your own life. The other thing too is that there could be a challenge here involving partnership, contracts, maybe joint finances, but partnerships, contracts, relationships, especially business partnerships and, client relationships, work-related partnerships, and this need to sort of move forward in a new direction when it comes to your career and your public reputation. And so that you might need to make some adjustments in order to sort of finish out the energy of the North Node in Leo, which has been pulling you in a whole new path and in a whole new direction when it comes to your career. And, there is maybe some sort of disruption or challenge to this need to let go of your home, your family, your property, or let go of control of what's going on in that area, to surrender a little bit because you have been focusing more on your work and on your career. There could be a disruption that sort of forces you to surrender control a little bit in terms of your home, your family, your property, just a little bit more, so that way you can finish moving in that direction that you need to move into. Oh, and now my dogs are barking. Okay, now that that's over, for Sagittarius and for Sagittarius rising, I don't know what's going on with the lighting here either. The sun is like doing weird stuff and everything's wonky. But for Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, this energy is happening in your 6th house of work and your 12th house of rest, right? And so part of this could be trying to come back into balance between, your work life and also the need to sort of rest and spend time in solitude, seclusion, to enjoy things that are pleasurable, to, continue doing things a little bit more behind the scenes. But with the energy of Uranus in your 6th house, there's been a frustration or a need to change something when it comes to either your health, which maybe, there's been some sort of disruption to your health or some sort of issue that's been plaguing you, and you've been deciding now that you really need to change something, you really need to address it in a new way. It could also be that, your day-to-day work experience, your day-to-day work life has become too mundane, too monotonous, and so you're feeling really frustrated with that, and you need to break free and change something. This week could bring a very fated, very karmic change, or, a need to adjust, right? It might not come on its own, although it might with this Uranus energy and with the North and South Node, but you might need to actively go in and change something, right? And to create the change for yourself. But there is a need to change something in that area, and it's very much being highlighted right now. There's also sort of a disruption in terms of your internal sense of equilibrium and well-being. You could be having a lot of really interesting, strange dreams, especially when it comes to sort of exes and old flames, old relationships, things like that, because this is Venus in the 12th house. This energy could be really nicely utilized for some sort of creative self-expression, like writing or journaling. You might be getting a lot of really powerful downloads and insights right now, and you can take that and utilize it for something. And then the energy of the North and South Node in your 9th and in your 3rd house. So you've been going through a process of changing and re-identifying with your beliefs about God, the universe, the world around you, your sort of ethical values, your moral belief systems, your religious values. And so you've been kind of headed in a new direction in that respect, or maybe even with your education, right? Or with taking on some sort of new adventure. And there could be a challenge posed to that by, this Uranus square to Venus energy. Maybe you've been wanting really, to move into a whole new path, a whole new direction, to do something more adventurous, to break out and break free of sort of your old habits, your old paradigms, especially your old belief systems, to go into some sort of new educational system, or to have some sort of adventure or travel, or maybe even just like a long distance trip or a long distance move, and your work experience has locked you in and it's prevented you from actually moving forward in this direction and letting go of sort of the day-to-day thought processes, the day-to-day sort of mundane communications in the area of the South Node and in the 3rd house. And so there's been a change going on when it comes to your beliefs, and there's been a need for more adventure and to sort of branch out. And that's being challenged right now by that frustration going on with your work, with your health. Maybe it's like that you're not feeling 100%. Maybe you've been a little bit off. And so you're looking at what you need to change in terms of your daily health routines. That way you can go on that big adventure, so you can make that big move, so you can embark on that new quest for knowledge, right? And so yeah, for Sag and Sag rising, it could be a little bit of a frustrating week. It could be like there's something going on beyond the veil and like sort of in the ethers that's you're not quite able to put your finger on, and it could involve finances, it could involve a relationship with somebody, it could involve somebody working behind the scenes against you even. You know, with Venus in the 12th house of hidden enemies and retrograde and in Scorpio and in opposition to Uranus in your 6th house, there could be someone working behind the scenes against you and preventing you from moving forward or causing some sort of disruption when it comes to your work. You could have some disruptive experiences with coworkers, disruptive sort of fated karmic communications with coworkers or through your work that sort of needs to come out, and it needs to come through right now, so that way you can do something with it and deal with it and make the change that you need to make in your life. All right, for Capricorn and for Capricorn rising, this energy is happening in your 5th house and in your 11th house. And so this is a lot of sort of disruptive energy when it comes to your friends, your social networks, the people that you surround yourself with. You could have unexpected sort of shocking circumstances come in this week that involve your friends, right? The people you surround yourself with. You could have old friends from a really long time ago coming back around and showing up in your life, either, you know, in real life or through a phone call or through social media, something along those lines. The 11th house is the house that, you know, rules the internet and connecting with other people via social media, via the internet. And so you could have some very interesting, unexpected communications coming in from people from your past, especially, you know, close friends and things like that. You could also have disruptions to your current friendships where maybe the old sort of way of being is not working for you anymore. It's become stuck, stagnant, oppressive in some sort of way. And so maybe you're looking at letting go of some of these friendships or changing the dynamic of these friendships, restructuring these relationships with these people. With Uranus in the 5th house too, there's a need to break out of your old sort of your old hobbies, your old interests, your old passions. You might be exploring new creative sorts of passions and forms of self-expression that are very, very different from what you're used to, that might be a little eccentric, a little outside of the box for you, very unorthodox. And so when Uranus is transiting through your 5th house, you might take on new hobbies and new interests that are very unusual. I know when Uranus was in my 5th house, that's when I started to get really into astrology, and it's very much ruled by Uranus, right? So you might be getting into something that's outside of the norm, outside of the box. Maybe you're watching this because you're just getting into astrology and you're really passionate about it, right? But yeah, so your hobbies, your interests are changing, your dynamic also with your children, if you have any. This could also be a disruption in your involving your social circle and your friends, your romantic life and your social circle. And so this could be that, you know, there's an incongruency going on here. Maybe you're in some sort of relationship or love affair, and it's preventing you from connecting with your friends. Maybe your friends don't approve, right? It could also be a disruption or a lot of sort of frantic, chaotic energy when it comes to your children. And so that's preventing you from finding that balance, that harmony, that deep, intimate connection that you crave when it comes to your friends and your social circle. And so maybe you need to change something and change that dynamic so that way you can have a little bit more time, maybe get a sitter, right? So that way you can go out and be with friends. There's also a little bit of challenge going on here when it comes to your resources. You've been having the South Node transiting your 2nd house, which is causing you to have to let go of an old way of connecting with your resources, creating money for yourself. And you've had the North Node transiting through the 8th house, which can bring a lot of sort of fated karmic circumstances involving power struggles, involving intimacy, sexuality, but also involving you know, money that comes from an outside source. And so maybe you've been relying a little bit more on money through a partnership or through debt even. And so, you know, maybe the money troubles or the issues are causing you to not be able to break out of the old paradigm, the old routines when it comes to your hobbies, your interests, and things that you love to do, or just spend time with your friends because you don't have, you know, the time or the money because you're working so hard to, you know, pay off debts or something like that. And so, you know, it can get you in this like stuck pattern. And that could be part of where the frustration's coming from. So it really just matters. It depends on what's going on, you know, in your own chart and your own life. But yeah, in general, that's what's going on for Capricorn and Capricorn rising. And then Aquarius. Aquarius is having disruption going on right now between the home, the family, the property. There's a need to change something in that area. I've got a lot of Aquarius rising clients who are contacting me for relocation astrology readings, right? Because they're having Uranus transiting the ruler of their 4th house. And so there could be a frustration with your current place of living and a really strong desire or pull to either travel or relocate or maybe live as a nomad or split your time between two places. These are all very Uranus on the IC or Uranus in the fourth house types of things to think about doing. But maybe you need to change sort of an old pattern or some sort of relationship or dynamic when it comes to your career and your public reputation in order to make that dream a reality. And so this is going to really highlight the need to break free and break away from, the old ways of being this week. The other energy that's going on is that you've been pulled really deeply into a path of focusing on relationships. A lot of very karmic, very fated circumstances over the past 18 months have occurred for you when it comes to all close one-on-one relationships, not just marriage partnerships or romantic partnerships, but any close personal relationships that are, on a one-on-one basis. And, it's causing you also to have to focus a little bit less on your own self-interest. So it's looking at the needs of other people versus the needs of yourself, letting go of certain aspects of your identity in order to focus your attention on your relationships. There could be challenges there as well. There could be challenges involving relationships or involving your own self-worth and your own self-image, your own self-interest, that might be preventing you from making the changes that you need to make when it comes to your home, your family, your property, or your work, right? There could be also unexpected money that comes in through your work right now, like a bonus or a reversal of some sort of, financial situation that occurred in the past, especially I would say mid-September was when we had this last aspect come exact last. But yeah, so I should have mentioned at the beginning, by the way, for anyone who's listening through all the signs, that this came exact the last time on September 15th. And so it's an energy that's being carried out more than once. And so thinking back to that time period, September 15th, will give you a clue as to what's going on now, except this time around it's a little bit deeper, a little bit darker, a little bit more karmic. But it's not necessarily that it's bad. It's just going to be more intense, I would say. And it's a revisiting, right? And having to go back in and hone in on things and readjust in the area of the changes that you need to make with your home, your family. It could even just be changes in your family dynamic. This could also bring, some sort of unexpected circumstances through relationship involving your home and family and property. Like maybe you're moving in together. Maybe don't do that during Venus retrograde, or, there's an unexpected pregnancy or something like that, or an unexpected addition to the home. That's something that can happen when Uranus is transiting your fourth house. And so you have to change your relationship with your work. You have to change the dynamic in your work in order to make space for that. All right, for Pisces and for Pisces rising, this energy is happening in your ninth and in your third house. And so you've been going through this process right now of changing your day-to-day communications, your day-to-day thought processes, rebalancing and coming back into equilibrium when it comes to your beliefs about God, the universe, the world around you, your education, your moral and ethical values. All of these things are up for review right now. You could have unexpected people coming back from your past, especially people from foreign countries or people who live long distance, because this is Venus retrograding in your ninth house. Or you could have unexpected communication from people that sort of fit that bill, or people from the past, from like when you were in college or graduate school, because the ninth house does rule higher education. You could have like teachers unexpectedly coming back into your life. Sorry, the dog's barking again. And there is a need to sort of break free and change your mindset around pretty much your perspective on life, right? Your moral your moral values, your higher values, your ethical values, your belief systems. So that's kind of what's going on with that Venus retrograde right now. But yeah, that Uranus in your third house could bring really unexpected sort of strange communication, shocking revelations through your relationships into the third house, that cause you to sort of rethink your ideas, right? To rethink your thought processes, to rethink your current paradigm and your current mindset. Sometimes really shocking information can come through at times like this. And then you've also been having the North Node transit in your sixth house. So you've probably been really busy, like focusing on work and developing, your day-to-day work life, your day-to-day work routines, or focusing on your health and, creating better health for yourself, or moving in a whole new direction when it comes to the way that you treat your body. There could be a need to break free from old paradigms and old beliefs about yourself or about your work or about your health or your nutrition in order to move in that direction and to, let go. And also, you've been moving out of the direction of escapism, right? Pisces people tend to say that they, have escapist tendencies and all of that. I don't see that necessarily in all the Pisces people. It just depends on what's going on in their chart, right? Some Pisces people are very motivated and very ambitious. But anyway, so you have the North Node transiting your 6th house right now, which is pulling you into focusing on the day-to-day routines, the day-to-day reality, and letting go of escapism, letting go of focusing too much energy on, spirituality, creativity, fantasy, delusions, alcohol, drugs, that type of thing, anything that you can use as a form of escape. And that could be part of the process that you sort of needed to go through in order to regain your health, if that's something that you've been working on, because it is the 6th house, or to become more disciplined and more successful in your work, right? My dog's barking again. I'm sorry, you guys. I don't know what's going on out there. We don't live by really anyone. So anyway, so yeah, so that's what's going on for Pisces and for Pisces rising. So that was all 12 signs, you guys. Thank you again so much for watching this video and for subscribing to my channel. And, feel free to comment and let me know how things are going for you. I always love hearing about the astrology in action. And if you want to know what's coming up for you in your own chart, you can always book a reading with me. The link is in the description below. My wait time has historically been quite long, but it's actually a little bit shorter than it normally is. Even though I'm still not taking orders for live readings, I'm doing pre-recordings at least, for the next month before I open my schedule again. But yeah, anyway, so the wait time's a little shorter. There's, I can get you in for a reading and we can take a look at how everything is affecting you personally. All right. Thank you so much, guys. I will see you next time.